You think that you're more right about this than a professional?
Oh, sure, you're the expert, but I trust my gut.
Okay. We'll see.
You look really good today.
Thanks.
In 2023, we did a glowing episode on Celine Song's debut film, Past Lives. Tonight we're discussing Celine's second film, Materialists, starring Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans, and co-starring Zoe Winters, Marin Ireland, and Dasha for some reason.
Love is easy.
Is it? I find it to be the most difficult thing in the world.
That's because we can't help it. It just walks into our lives sometimes.
Once again, Celine Song mined her own experiences for the screenplay. Celine Song had been a successful budding playwright before the pandemic cut live theater short. Her story was incredibly interesting. Born in South Korea to a filmmaker father whose work in the 1990s was incredibly popular in South Korea, but he got disillusioned when his 1999 film End of the Century, which he wrote and directed, faced an insane amount of controversy, and he retired from filmmaking. Her mother was a children's book illustrator and graphic designer. When she was 12, Celine's mother got her family an artist visa to Canada, where they moved permanently to Markham, Ontario, 30 kilometers from Toronto. Celine was attend Queen's University in Ontario, graduating with a bachelor's in psychology. Then she totally changed course. Following her passion from childhood, playwriting, she moved to New York City and got her MFA at Columbia in 2014. Over the next almost decade, she worked odd jobs, including as a matchmaker at a matchmaking agency in 2015. While she tried to get her plays off the ground, she met and married her husband, Justin Curticus, another aspiring playwright who was in a writer's fellowship she attended over a summer. In 2019, after 5 years of struggling, Song's play Endlings, the story of a Korean-Canadian writer struggling to write authentic stories about her identity, and also 3 elderly sea women living on a Korean island, opened to critical acclaim for the 2019-2020 season. The season, which would end being shut down for COVID, right as her off-Broadway run in March 2020 started. During COVID, she got attention for staging a virtual play, Chekhov's The Seagull, using Sims 4 characters on Twitch. Although her play would close before it even really had a chance to be seen by a mainstream audience. In January 2020, Song got a film deal for the screenplay she was writing, Past Lives.
12년 전에 그때 내가 만약에 뉴욕에 왔었다면 어땠을까? 만약에 네가 한국을 떠나지 않았다면, 그렇게 떠나지 않았고 우리가 같이 자랐더라도 내가 널 찾았을까?
Which would end up starring Greta Lee, Teo Yo, and John Magero in the semi-autobiographical story of Celine's strange encounter with her childhood best friend who came to New York City from South Korea to see her when she was already in a relationship with her husband, and the parallel lives that an immigrant child must live and the feelings and memories they encounter dragged up. It was critically acclaimed. That same year, by the time it came out, it was 2023. Celine's husband Justin also made his film debut as a screenwriter for the Luca Guadagnino tennis love triangle classic, Challengers.
Are you hitting on me?
Definitely not. But I do think that you would be a great match for a lot of our clients. We need more straight men in New York City.
Materialist continues the trend of mining Celine Song's own personal experience for subject matter. Dakota Johnson stars as Lucy, a matchmaker at a matchmaking agency in New York City. For 6 months, while she was waiting for her plays to be produced, Celine worked at one of these matchmaking agencies in the city. And it's this time as a matchmaker that makes Materialists more interesting than the countless other movies and TV shows that use the matchmaker as a plot device. The matchmaker who could find everyone else love but has a love life that's messy herself trope is ancient in the movie world. The list of movies involving matchmaking on IMDb has 342 titles.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, look through your book and make me a perfect match.
It's been the subject of game shows, TV dramas, and sitcoms. Oh, so many sitcoms.
This isn't hopeless. You're gonna find someone for me.
No, I won't. You're gonna die alone.
I'm not gonna die alone.
But Celine Song brings us into the world of matchmaking from her own incredibly cynical vantage point. She's cynical about these matchmakers because she believes deeply in love, and she's seen how the sausage is made.
About like what they have, it really becomes a list of statistics, right? But then of course I know just transactional, and the thing is, like, we know the truth about love, which that love is an ancient mystery, and it's a thing that you cannot quantify no matter how hard you try. And I would describe it as being struck by lightning, right? And it's like, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It just is.
But day after day, people are sitting down in front of you and saying, Celine, I want to be struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Why hasn't that happened yet?
Well, I want to be struck by lightning by specifically people with these statistics, right?
Dakota Johnson's Lucy takes us through the terminology and fixations of this industry, which relies on the wealthy and bored for its client base. High-value men and high-value women, terms now beloved by the manosphere and the incel community. Viewing all relationships as math, just dehumanized transactional algorithms where each box is checked. How much do you make? How tall are you? What are you looking for? The clients go on dates with each other with the assumption that there's a mathematically equivalent person they will be compatible with. Dakota Johnson is far more saleswoman than anything. When clients get the jitters or want to give up, she must coax them back, pitching endless dreams that she herself doesn't fully believe in.
You look about 6 feet tall. How much money do you make?
Just straight up like that.
I make 80 grand a year before taxes. Do you make more or less than that?
More.
I know. Finance, right?
Private equity. Do you want a drink?
There's also the strange liminal space in the class strata the matchmaker occupies. She makes $80,000 a year and yet must be able to mingle with the wealthy elite of the city, at least doctors, finance and tech bros, and corporate lawyers. Knowing with her salary and background, a college dropout from a working class background, she'd never be listed for any of the clients she's tasked with algorithmically matching. Materialists is a romantic comedy, technically, but the conventional romantic comedy aspects are the least interesting part. Lucy's ex, who she left because he was a struggling actor, and she at least began believing the part of the matchmaking pitch that she needs someone more in her financial range, John, who is played by a grungy-looking, but not at all Snowpiercer-level Chris Evans, still loves her and is constantly there as a knight in Under Armour when she struggles. Funnily enough, we see him in a play that has Celine Song's name on it as the writer on the billboard, an old play of hers that she's poking fun at. Lucy meets a guy named Harry Castillo, played by Pedro Pascal, who's what matchmakers call a unicorn. Great job, tall, full head of hair, wealthy as can be, and somehow still single. He's a finance nepo baby and relentlessly pursues Lucy after meeting her at his brother's wedding, which he helped set up, giving Lucy the chance to try to fulfill the dream she's selling to other people as he tries to buy her affection and whisk her away, only to realize it's not love. It's attempting to use money as a way to force a connection, something I respect about both Past Lives and Materialists. Painfully pathetic and human at times, both movies avoid the simplicity of casting their main characters as villains. In Past Lives, both Hae-sung and Arthur love Nora in different ways. The tension is inner tension, with both trying to desperately connect to a person whose life has been split in two by geography and culture. In Materialists, Pedro Pascal could easily be a one-dimensional asshole, but instead he's shown to be vulnerable, deeply insecure, like a child. Also, I fucking hate that leg lengthening surgery thing so much, I hope I never hear about it again. To me, the most interesting part of the movie, but also the one that makes it incredibly tonally uneven, comes when Lucy must face the human consequence of the service, when one of her clients is sexually assaulted on a date she set up. The facade that human interaction can be shorn of human consequences and mathematically predicted crumbles for Lucy. Her boss's reaction is not empathy, but moving to reassure and cover up. It's a dark realization, the kind you never get in romantic comedies like this. Lucy cannot let it go, and it also exposes the cold, intangible reality of the liminal space she occupies. She's not really supposed to be a friend. This is a client, and this is a business. She's in the space between friend, therapist, service worker, and confidant, and it is real human tolls. Any service worker will resonate with these pseudo-intimate roles played within modern neoliberal capitalism, as well as living under a culture that's increasingly pushed relationships to be as transactional as anything else we experience, especially in the digital age, when we're increasingly plugged in every waking second and yet lonelier than ever. We aren't just a superficial stat served up to an algorithm, either by a matchmaker or a dating app or a social media app. There are moments of brilliance, as Materialists aims to catch these sentiments, but at the same time, the formulaic rom-com vehicle is definitely not the best way to express them.
Do you want a drink?
Sure.
What do you want?
Coke and beer.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, John.
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Conan Neutron is the host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. You can check out his music and hopefully buy some at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and a Twitch streamer. You can find her streaming at twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics. All of her social media accounts are also at Cosmopolitics. She's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and even occasionally on Letterboxd. Kristina is now on This Space, thisspace.tv. Follow them on YouTube and Instagram to get the schedule. Eileen Jones is the film critic at Jacobin, where she just reviewed Materialists. I'll link to that in the description. Author of Filmsuck USA and the host of the Filmsuck podcast, which I got to be the guest on last week. We talked about Ballerina and John Wick, and it's available at patreon.com/filmsuck. I, of course, am your burned out matchmaker who's now just going through my Rolodex, begging my family members to date you, and your host, Forrest Miller. Let's check some boxes. Coming up soon, we will also be on This Space. Old syndicated Movie Night Extravaganza episodes will be on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully soon we'll be live on there as well.
A falcon? What was that? Scream!
It was the eagle. I was looking for like a picture of the This Space logo.
America.
First one I found was like This Space, and it's Matt with the flag around him, and I was like, oh, I'm throwing that in there with the eagle sound.
Throwing something triumphant in there, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it reminded me of Charlie Day, the It's Always Sunny episode where he puts the flag, and he gets the fight milk, and he puts the flag on top of his flag. He's like, dude, that leg surgery thing, I'm like, I hate.
We're just getting right into it. Huh? Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
By the way, welcome, Eileen. I feel like
well, first of all, welcome, Eileen. Secondly, leg lengthening surgery.
Because it is a shocker. But it also, something has to be done to give Pedro Pascal any quality that isn't
a flaw of any kind.
Exactly. Because everyone loves him so much that one of my things was it's almost like he's miscast because he's supposed to have some element of rich douchebaggery.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any because he's Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. And he's like super charming. So, and then like when he does the thing where he like goes down to like the height that he was, it's like, okay, so you're Humphrey Bogart now. Okay. That's still all right.
That's right. Yeah, Humphrey Bogart when in Opening a Big Sleep, you're not very tall, are you? And he says, I try to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So so Celine Song insists, he really demonstrates that he can also be hard. And I'm like, no, he's Pedro.
Hard how?
He's not. He's got the softest, sweetest eyes.
Yeah,
the nicest, softest face, and you're like,
he's a puppy.
Even his legs are apparently soft.
My mom just doesn't understand the appeal. She's like, what is it with this guy? I'm like, I've not seen him.
Just lovable as hell.
Yeah,
straight as an arrow. I get it.
And he's a leftist too. Like, come on, now what's not the left?
On top of everything else. Wow.
Yeah, the more you delve into his background, the crazier it gets, because his like mom is Allende, was like Allende's like cousin, like pretty close cousin. Like he's in the Salvador Allende's family, but his mother was the cousin of Salvador Allende's nephew that took over the guerrilla movement after Allende was killed. And his family actually ended up having to flee Chile in that time period, and they had to go. They ended up in Europe for a little while, and then they ended up going to America, and then they've been back to Chile since. Like he was Pedro Pascal was at Gabriel Boric's inauguration and stuff, and like gave him like the craziest like bear hug you've ever seen a guy give another guy. He's really happy to be back in Chile and have like a socialist to hug.
Oh my God.
So I get that his first big role was Game of Thrones, but like how he kind of came to most people's attention was The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Which he's fantastic in, but does not show his face at all, right? And so the fact that he was able to get charisma and panache off as a character that's basically, you know, space lone wolf and cub.
Yeah. Grogu.
Like, amazing.
No Grogu. No. No.
Dakota Johnson, Bad Hot, Girly Bad Hot is in the Celine Song track. I feel like this is movies. They just
that's just they like casting attractive people, I think. You know, I mean,
well, and he shows how hilarious he's so good at comedy in that thing with Nicolas Cage that Nicolas Cage plays himself. I forget the name of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was funny.
He was hilarious as this gangster with a huge crush on Nicolas Cage. He was just
massive talent.
Massive talent. Yeah.
He's good on SNL too. I mean, the sketch with the girl from Temecula, like he just breaks, and it's like he's trying to, like, she's cutting the steak, shaking everything, and he's just trying to tell a story, and he's trying not to laugh, but he just can't. He easily breaks characters. It's the greatest thing.
Well, I feel like he's like the only modern equivalent of like a Clark Gable type.
Yeah,
that everyone loves. Yeah,
everyone just like, of course we love him. He's great. Yes. Why wouldn't we love him?
Yeah,
he's done an interesting thing. Also, he's never publicly like been in a relationship of any kind. Like, there's no record of him. There's been like close friendships he's had that people are like, oh, I think that's his like girlfriend or something, but he's never publicly acknowledged a relationship. Like, there's something like
for me.
I think there's something that he's trying to cultivate. I think that's extremely like wholesome about stuff. And like, I don't know, it's like, it's an interesting thing because I feel like a lot of people are like, no, get me into a relationship with some starlets. I got to be around starlets. And it's like, his
sister's hot too. Like, woof.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's not really interested in that sort of salacious aspect of
celebrity.
Right? So that's unique because everybody plays the game, even like our faves, you know, are like still like, all right, they're doing the thing. Okay,
yep,
you know.
But it was frustrating. I think, you know, you've already indicated, like, to call it it's being marketed as like a romantic comedy, and there's the comedy aspect. Just the whole thing is so weird. It's got so much more drama.
Yeah,
like 2 laughs in the whole thing, and one of them is condom related.
Well,
which
exactly.
Is
romantic drama.
It's a rom-drom for sure.
I really did feel the dirtiness of that apartment where he's running in, and then and then the phone or whatever, the guy took his charger. Like, I've lived at friends' houses for like short periods of time.
Yeah.
And then I go to charge my phone, and they're like, "Oh, I used your charger." And then you're like, "Why are you using my charger?" And then they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know."
Home situation. That's fun. And there's montages of the clients with their outrageous expectations, and you can see that's going.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I love Dakota Johnson ever since she started. Basically, we have her to thank for why Ellen DeGeneres got canceled, because she hung out with George W. Bush when she claimed that she didn't get an invite to her party, and I'm like, Ellen.
Yeah, I didn't totally get the vibe of that interview where I'm like, all right, so she said she didn't get invited to a party, but she did. I don't get how that was the. I guess
she was with George W. Bush. That's what it was. But it's like she's had an interesting career because you know who her parents are, obviously. But like,
no,
really, could that have been a factor?
But like 50 Shades of Grey happened, and everyone's like, but even then, she makes fun of it. But she's overcome it. She's like, you know, Robert Pattinson with like Twilight. Like, people actually take him as like one of the greatest actors of her generation. Everyone's like, oh, she's just getting started. Like, she might have a few flops here and there, but like when she works with like a director that she knows and really likes, her performances are really, really pretty outstanding.
She's getting a lot more respect. She's lost on me. I've got to admit. I find her so distracting. Her looks. She's too. I mean, she's too beautiful. She's too model thin. She gets that right from her grandmother, Tippi Hedren,
Yeah.
Still alive. She so when she shows up and you're just like, come on, she's blindingly gorgeous. This whole business, you could do better. Because I'm pushing 35 or whatever. And you're just like, come on. And then you throw Chris Evans in on top of that. Come on.
Chris Evans is like
a highly unattractive actor for that part. No, okay.
Well, okay, so
like, I'm 35 and broke, and I was like, I don't believe.
Yeah, nobody's gonna care about that. Nobody's gonna care. It doesn't.
You're like 58 and rich or something. Like not 58.
Well,
48
let's put a pin in that because we're throwing a couple points out there. Dakota Johnson, I like her a lot in the Cooper Raiff movie Cha-Cha Real Smooth, where it's similar like this movie that it kind of plays to her strengths, right? That it's like delivering dialogue that the way the dialogue is delivered and the way the character interacts in the world works well for her strengths. And I actually think she's pretty good in this. And like I it's something where I'm always kind of rooting for her, but she's just she's very much almost like she's bored half the time. I do think she's just unearthly attractive, and I agree. It's like, okay, we're talking about dating. It's like anybody in this movie, people would like saw off a limb to go on a date with, right? So it's like that's sort of like suspending disbelief right there.
And Conan, to your point about like how she looks like bored or whatever, she actually explained, she's like, you can tell when I'm doing a movie just for the money.
Yeah.
Well, because she was in the Battle Web movie, which like that was like she really blew up because she clearly was just so disdainful of the entire circuit. Yeah, and the more coverage she got of it, like the more
didn't know how to work with green screens and stuff like that. And I understand. I'm like, you can just tell. Like
she's given garbage to work with too. I presume I'm never gonna watch it. There's no chance I'll ever watch it. There's no way. I don't have to watch it. I ain't gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But I think it's notable that it's not that I think she's like untalented. I just think that like a lot of directors don't really know how to utilize her best. Like she would be great in a David Mamet production. If David Mamet hadn't took that hard neocon turn and only produced crap for forever. And I say that not because I think she's the new Rebecca Pigeon or anything, because he's certainly better than that. But like it's interesting that this film and the whole like Moneyball but dating aspect of it, which I think is interesting. I'm gonna invoke something that's gonna potentially detract the conversation, but there's something very Woody Allen about it. And it's, I'm not trying to like say that like Woody Allen's a great guy or anything, but I'm saying Manhattan's a great movie, and there are shades of Manhattan to this, but it's like, oh no, but this is like the 2025 version of it. And I think it's interesting that we haven't seen that application of statistics and numbers put forward for what is modern dating, which is like apps and matchmaking services and things along these lines. None of which, by the way, I've ever personally been on, and I count my blessings for that. But it's very common, and we have not seen media really address that directly, and in a way that actually is like, oh, okay, I get this. Again, as someone who's never participated in it, I think that works, and I think as a conceit, it works really well, and I think it is an update of that Woody Allen, big city mindset. But again, everybody's too hot.
And another thing too, when we see matchmakers, we think of women who are a lot older. Like I think of when, hate to mention a musical, but Hello Dolly, he's old, but a 24-year-old Streisand plays her, and I'm like, in the movie, I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was
she's old. She's old.
We're allergic to having character actors and actresses that are not leading people anymore, and we've talked about this in the past, right?
And there's no doubt she probably needed to do the sophomore film. She needs names if she can get them, and she could get them, and if they're elements of like what romantic comedies often have. Ultra unbelievably attractive people sometimes pretending they're less attractive. So Sandra Bullock is, a plain klutz and nobody wants her, and Hugh Grant is being very witty about it.
Put some glasses on him,
or they do the worst part and put them in a fat suit, and it's like,
you can see why, but it is hard because one of her great skills that we see in past lives is she's wonderful at showing people who are recognizably people. Come to seem so attractive. They come to look and act in a way that you just think they're all so attractive.
Yeah, but like there's a quality to if I was in a crowd, right, of just random people, like I don't think I could pick Celine Song out of a crowd. Like Yeah, there's like, and when she like, I don't know, every time I've seen her in an interview or something, she dresses very plain, and it's like so like all the actresses and actors though in her movies that she casts, and it's always some version of herself. She's always like examining her own her own psychology and her own experiences, and it's like she casts avatars almost of like the hottest people in Hollywood to like be in this like landscape she's created. I mean, she's like she's not unattractive, but she's it's just like I don't like if you're like pick Celine Song out of a lineup. I don't think my brain just wouldn't let me do it.
And she isn't going for it. I think that's what you're saying.
She's not trying in that way.
Not even trying to be a knockout anyway. Yeah.
Well, and that's to me, it seems like they're reversed. Like this feels like the first movie and Past Lives like the second movie. You know what I mean? Because Past Lives was just so like, wow, where did this come from? Holy crap! How did this like come forth fully formed from the head of Zeus as this perfect film encapsulating this thing? And it would make sense if there was for more like enjoyable but flawed thing that came before. To me, that makes more sense. But it's not what happens.
And speaking of a lineup, I mean, there was just recently a Pedro Pascal lookalike contest, and the lighting designer for the Daily Show won, and I was like,
yeah, I couldn't.
I thought that was Pedro. I was like, that was Pedro Pascal.
They they let the guy host. Like for like whatever. Like they let him sit in the desk, and I was like, there's something a little off about this. Like, did Pedro Pascal get like a facelift or something? And then I watched the clip, and it was like, oh no, this is the lighting director.
It's a totally different dude.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is because that's a quote unquote attribute. I'm not going to say skill, but that's an attribute that would not have mattered 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, lookalike contest. Thanks, Timothy.
But somebody did that like as a meme though, and then they were like, why don't we actually just try this? I like.
Getting back to the movie, I think that something that I asked to have a pin put in was the whole Chris Evans of it all. Well, I like his character. I think his character is good and embodies something that a lot of people don't seem to understand in movies, which is sort of like someone who is working poor. And especially like living in a big city. The one thing is it's like he looks too clean. Like he should like not have had a haircut for a while. Which he would still look handsome as hell. Like it's not like
he doesn't look grungy. He doesn't.
Yeah, and if you see his house, it's like, all right, yeah, I've lived in that same place.
By the way, so her dad was the director in South Korea, who's like exceedingly famous. Just left South Korea because he was like one of his movies got too controversial, and it was like the end of the dictatorship or whatever in South Korea, like the second one or whatever, like, and he was just like, all right, I'm out, and never went back. But he was the first guy to cast Kang Ho Song, like Kang Ho Song, like the guy from Parasite, the guy from Memories of Murder, like all of those movies. And he was he cast him as a very young actor within I think a year of his first appearance in the film. He was like a background guy, obviously, because he has that very like interesting like character actor face and like mannerism about him, but he was cast as like a stuttering Japanese gangster in a Korean movie. And he blew like the critics away, being like, "Oh, this guy, he stutters so good," or whatever.
Well, hasn't she mentioned in interviews that like her first name is a reference to Celine and Julie Gobodin? Which is like, okay, clearly you're coming from a cinephile.
Exactly.
Her father, filmmaker, and then her mom she's an illustrator. She has children's books. Like I couldn't find like a list of them. I think I don't know. Like they probably have like South Korean titles and that, but like they didn't seem like they translated them into English. But I was looking for them. But I guess she does a lot. Like she has like a whole stack of different children's books that she's worked on.
So she's done a lot of stuff. She apparently did work as like a matchmaker, is what I understand from the background research. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, not for research. She just did.
But I mean, your research for the show. To be clear, since you
That's quite fascinating how she takes like her own experiences into, and I think that's what makes her films like the few that she's done like stand out, because she's like, like she's lived like quite a life. And so she's like, I'm gonna this movie's gonna be based about one experience in my life, even though it was just a 6-month period, it still had a profound effect on her.
Well, then her husband,
the Challengers guy,
wrote the movie Everyone But Me and Eileen. Like,
we hated it, but everyone else loved it.
Everyone else loves Challengers. They think it's great.
He also wrote
like the only good thing about that movie.
He also wrote Queer, the other one with
and he wrote Queer, which I also strong.
I haven't seen that. I like Burroughs a little too much to kind of go into that blindly.
I can careful if you're a Burroughs fan.
Imagine, thinking that Daniel Craig was ugly. I'm like, what?
You're like, Daniel Craig can't get laid. Once again, right. All the dumb.
A martini of disbelief. Yeah,
a martini shaken in mid. I need to look mid right now. I think So the timeline of it, right? 2014, she graduates from the Columbia MFA program, and then there's like almost like half a decade, pretty much that goes by where she's just working on plays, like grinding away. Mm-hmm. Finally, her big play opens in 2019. Just kind of they're doing workshops or whatever because there's so much workshopping and like working with people on collaboration. So it finally opens March 2020. It's supposed to open off Broadway. Mm-hmm. COVID.
Yeah, so that's right, and that's why she did the online thing with that we talked about when we did Past Lives too.
Yeah,
it was like
the Seagull, but it on a Sims. It was on Twitch, and it was right as Twitch was like blowing up as like a platform, and she did like a play on there, and then people had to pretend, and they're like, "Wow, so interesting." And I don't think they really got it because I was reading like reviews of it, and it was like, I don't know why she did it, but. It's the Seagull.
Well, and then it reminds me of that. That takes further off topic just for a minute. That beautiful Grand Theft Hamlet documentary that came out that I just wish more people would see because that was like a really good usage of alternate spaces and definitely like peak COVID creativity and whatnot. Very very cool film. But yeah, I remember I think you even like showed it when we did the Past Lives episode. I was like, this is deeply weird. I don't know if I
didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. So she did that, and then at the same time, I guess they were negotiating. Like somebody at A24 had seen her play when it was like I think it was Endlings is what it was called, and they saw her play. I think while it was at and they're like, oh, this is really good, and like, do you want to write? Like you have an interesting story because her play was about herself. Everything she's done is about herself, pretty much,
and that's how she ended up doing Past Lives.
Yeah,
ultimately, right?
She's the rare. She's also the rare unicorn. No, she's the rare double immigrant. Like she immigrated from South Korea to she immigrated from South Korea to Canada to like Ontario, and then she immigrated from Ontario to New York City. So she's had two experiences where she's left left countries and then arrived at a different country, pretty much like first with her family, then by herself. Because her parents still live in Ontario, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, she definitely has the urban experience. The constant references to money and height for dating is notable. And again, as for mentioned, I've never been in any of these apps or services, but I did get refused in my younger days when I was single because of I wasn't tall enough, and I ended up making the girl a comp by the title of height requirement, which I thought was very
I was gonna say you're starting to protest too much, Conan.
I just never have. I just don't have the experience. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it makes me better or something. I just don't know it.
I was on Tinder for like 3 weeks. Didn't really get it. I was like,
I didn't.
I was matching like pretty much only with people that I already knew, and I was like, I'm not gonna like message like girls that I like already know, and like it's just in this weird liminal space. And I was like, I just deleted it after that.
Well, I bring it up because even though I don't have that experience, I think this movie did do a good job of kind of bringing forth what that experience is, like the sort of the more horrific aspects of it, as well as the potential like upsides, I guess, as well. And I thought that was presented well, and I don't think I've really seen that. Then again, I find the rom-com, of which this is not, it's a rom-drom. I find that to be a repulsive genre full of I hate
at least post what? I don't know. Post 60 something. I don't know.
Yeah, like the romantic comedy got like oversaturated, especially like in the early 2000s, where they just weren't like, it was just too much comedy, not enough like romance. So it's like
and formulaic,
old school.
Formulaic. Comedians, fuck. Come on, what are you doing? Too much comedy, not enough romance.
But the idea,
I come from the generation that precedes all of this online. So of course, I come from a state of deep horror. Like, how the hell could you put yourself through this? This seems so like guaranteed to be humiliating and potentially dangerous, and just really agog. But we had there was just the luxury of the last fumes of people socializing out in the world all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone went to bars, everyone went to concerts, everyone was constantly meeting and greeting out in the world, which is just less and less and less and less true.
Yeah.
And there are some actors who just can't do comedies at all. Like Cillian Murphy tried doing a romantic comedy one time that went straight to video, and it's like, yeah, you're not fit for this.
Because there was a long time where it's like mid-level comedies, which they don't really make that many mid-level comedies anymore, because but like for a long time that was like a very easy get. You could be like, oh look, there's a long interview where they ask Vince Vaughn about it or something, I'm pretty sure, and he's talking about how pretty much like the mid-level comedy pretty much is dead, because it's like
we talked about, we did Barb and Star, right, of just like how they don't invest any money into it, and so they're like, well look, it failed. They're like, well, it failed. It's just like self-fulfilling prophecy at a certain point. Like it's not that people don't want them, it's people aren't given the opportunity to even like them.
I mean, people love them when they're like, I don't know, like Judd Apatow, like that time period, people love that so much. Like,
but I'm talking about that, but that's years ago. That's not now.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, when people do have the opportunity to get like a series of movies, and they do not stop quoting it for like 30 years. Like,
well, exactly. That's a good success.
Your face looked like Robin Williams' knuckles, Forrest.
But I was just startled that she didn't present the upside of dating, which clearly works for people. It was all downside. It's like you're my generation or something.
What upside? There's no upside of dating.
Yeah, there didn't seem
very cynical.
Even when it starts with that wedding that's a successful match, the woman's huddled in the fetal position in the back room and crying, and shall I do this? And oh my God, and I really want to do this to get back to lord it over my sister.
The only type of matchmaking I believe in is zodiac signs. Okay, I know too many Leos, too many Sagittarius, and even Geminis, and I'm like, I always connect.
Look, the only zodiac I recognize is Ted Cruz.
There's like, I don't know, they didn't explicitly talk about this within really the movie, but I mean, but you can kind of see it in the class distinctions of, this is like a service for like the wealthy, the bored, the kind of creepy, the desperate and wealthy, I guess. Like,
all those
it's a white glove service for dating.
Yeah, but then dating apps are basically work the same way in that algorithmic sense, right? Like they're matching people up based on the same kinds of characteristics, but an algorithm is doing it, and it's like the boutique version of that is like some lady doing it for you and calling you a bunch of times and setting you up with people specifically, and it's like this is like the boutique version, I guess, of like Tinder, pretty much. Like, 'cause it's doing the same. She's doing the same thing. It's like
she's being like a sponge for all the psychopathy that all her clients are displaying. Whether they realize it or not, it's like, I would have run away from you as fast as I could. If you said something like that, right? And of course, they're all very entitled, spoiled, and childish, and things like. And I think that's very well represented, for sure. But there is very much like there's this vague idea of like, well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel that is, I guess, at least love adjacent. Right.
I mean, but to have Celine Song doing interviews basically indicating I disapprove of this because I believe in love. Like there isn't any love over there.
She so effortlessly shows that and all intricacies and nuances in past lives. Like she can do it. So it's like, why is it just spoken about and not shown? Really, like you're supposed to be happy for her. That, again, spoiler alert, everybody. When she gets together with Chris Evans at the end, despite all of his flaws and the fact that they clearly have a bad history together. And it's like that.
She settles.
She settles, but like the body language of that entire relationship in the movie, like she's down bad for her ex. That she's like, she's bought in just enough to the whole
hey buddy,
only be somebody within the financial realm that you're in, right? Like if somebody's poorer than you and they're always like they're not motivated and they're always going to be poorer than you in your mind, there's something like almost genetic about it, or something almost like predestined about it. You can't really. She's bought into just that enough that it ruined her relationship essentially, and with somebody that she clearly is in love with, and she's clearly like every time she sees him, like her whole face lights up. But I mean, maybe that's just because she sees Chris Evans and her whole face lights up.
I mean, I would,
But also, but I do like that you get to see some of that nuance too. Like you see them like having the fight where she's out in the street, and then there's a whole like, are you the kind of person to have a public argument? And Pedro Pascal's like, oh no, God, that'd be horrifying. By the way, I'm with that camp. That would be horrifying.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I am the kind that would. And you see it. And like, I like that you see it instead of hearing about it. And it's about money.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, this is class aware. Also, that's very real. It's like, never not had money, it's
well, and she
very real.
Links it too, and it was only for so brief, but I thought, I wish you could have done more. Where if you come from a troubled, conflict-ridden family, you're gonna have bad relations. If you come from a happy, stable, big family, or however she refers to it, you're gonna go on probably to have one. So there's this terrible determination involving money and family background. It's really rough, and it's very Jane Austen, which she cites 9 million times in interviews that she's doing the Austen thing, which is setting a very high bar. A very high bar. That
she references broadcast news. Albert Brooks.
That's right. Yeah, the Albert Brooks movie.
Yeah. And she talks about how like she thinks that that's kind of the perfect romantic comedy, which is another movie that has like a love triangle, at the center of it. I mean, I love that. Like that movie is great, but she looked at it and she said like it inspired her because that's like the jargon in that movie, right? Like the news part of it. She's like, that inspired me to want to do something like this where it's like insider jargon. Although, I think that the insider jargon in the matchmaking services, as I said in the intro, has been taken by all these very weird, like influencer like spaces and like dating spaces and just misogyny, like grinder spaces of, just incubators for the worst misogyny you've ever seen.
Well, you're reducing people's attributes to, almost literally numerical exploits, right?
Yeah.
So it's turns out that's dehumanizing.
I'm a high value man. I've never seen someone that looks like an actual high value man.
It's the fresh and fit. Like there are these podcasters who like bring like sex workers on and just like degrade their looks and shit like that. I'm like, dude, you look like a giant wart.
I know. Yeah.
There's like
you're talking to a beautiful woman, like shut the fuck up.
But there's like this weird also like, and I feel like this also gets into kind of the matchmaking thing and like the way that when the girl gets sexually assaulted, like basically calls her a pimp. She's like, you're I thought you were my friend, but like you're my pimp. There's the same thing where it's the those like misogyny podcasts. It's always like OnlyFans girls and like porn stars, and they scream at the porn stars, and it's like there's this weird symbiosis between this dehumanization and misogyny, and then like benefiting both people in the actual thing, because obviously the guys are going to be like, I hate that woman, and then they're going to go right to the OnlyFans, and then like, well,
I can't I can and won't speak to that because I don't want to talk about it, but I'm thinking about the lines that like Lucy says to Harry, that I don't like you because you're rich. Why do you like me? Because you make me feel valuable.
Yeah.
It goes back to value, right? Valuation, like what the valuation is. And it's constantly going back to, I mean, it goes to the title, Materialists, right? It's beyond, like, it's a literal definition of materialism, right? Even though it's also like you're talking about material needs at the same time, which is very clever. But again, I already said it, but like it's kind of Moneyball-esque. Like how
we are living in a material world, and we are material girls,
or in my case, a material guy.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, like my mom had like this had a friend that was in a very powerful position that she went to college with, and she was telling me like someone that like everybody would know like the name of, and she was telling me about like this relationship that the person had where like it was like shitty as fuck. They cheated on each other, but they had a bunch of money and they were constantly cheating, and they knew that was the case, and it's like almost like they fuel on it. But you have to be in this relationship within like a certain social strata. You have to have somebody in that, and it's like it's a transactional thing, and it's like. But it's not love, right? Like it's a transactional, and then a lot of those people are on like their third or fourth spouse by that point too, and it's like I don't know, this is constant like number one, like I think obviously like, and I think dating apps have really done this, like people and the internet just in general, like there's just too many options. You're constantly looking for better options. You're like, what are my options right now? And that makes it so that just I think we're like mentally wired to settle, and I think that we've really, I mean, because like that's just starting a family. If you're constantly looking for options and you're like 70 and you're still looking for like like an 18-year-old girl to ruin their life or whatever, like it's just, I don't know, like we've created a situation where no one's ever going to be satisfied because always options, and that's where the swiping thing, which when most movies talk about dating apps, they're like swipe, like that's the thing they focus on.
Yeah, I know too many guys in their 20s who are like, I'm never gonna find a woman. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, your biological clock does not tick at all. You'll be fine when you're like 40 and hot, and you can find like a 25 to 30-year-old girl to be with. Like, just relax. These things take time. Okay, women mature a lot faster.
Just tell them, thank God we live in a patriarchy.
Exactly.
There's a certain like the class thing, I think, too. The feeling that a relationship is you're not meant to be happy, and it's transactional. And as long as the transactions kind of even out to a certain point, even if the marriage is terrible, I mean, because you can just go get another marriage if it's that bad. But like, as long as it's kind of evened out, and you're in this like
soap opera characters, oh my God,
it's like that doesn't feel like it's it doesn't feel like there's emotion attached to it. I mean, the person probably does have emotions for somebody else, that isn't their fucking wife, like, and then vice versa, like.
Well, let's talk about the class distinction between them. Between like when they go. So first of all, also when they go to John's play, that's a real play that Celine Song wrote back in like 2016, which is funny because like you see in the poster, it's like writer Celine Song. So it's like, okay, so Celine Song exists in the Materialist universe, as a playwright, which is funny and interesting. But you see him like, I was almost like, oh, how is he going to navigate this? Because this is totally not. And I'm talking about the Pedro Pascal character at this point, right? The Harry. It's like, this is not his vibe. It's not his people. It's not his normal recreational activity. And it's kind of just glossed over a little bit, but like he picks up the check at the bar, like something as simple as that. And that just shows you, oh, they're coming from like different worlds. Like no one else would even have the ability to do that at this place. I mean, you saw that quote unquote theater, it looks like a freaking shipping container.
And they were doing
going on in there.
They're doing a Celine Song play. Literally,
they're doing a Celine Song play. Yeah. I just said that. Yeah, because it's like she clearly exists in this universe as a playwright, which is hilarious. But
even more. How about the scene of his apartment where
oh my God,
he can't look? He's kissing her and she's ogling the apartment the entire time. And has to know how much it's worth. A $12 million apartment. It's huge. It's this,
which is stunning. So of course it's like, well, wow, this place is crazy.
Yeah. So how much does she want to marry the apartment? Which is a perfectly human response of all of a sudden, like, I could live here. This would be my God. I mean, again, Jane Austen covers this.
I do a research paper on Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
I've only been in one New York City apartment that kind of was like on that level. It was like, it wasn't it was actually like that nice, but I've only been in one apartment like that, and you're almost afraid to touch anything. Like it's a weird, like, you're not comfortable in one of those places. Like I was like, you
feel like you're gonna depreciate the value if you touch it.
Yeah,
you're gonna like get the cushions if you sit down on this lovely white couch.
There's always like a non-functional, like kind of I guess utilitarian style art that's everywhere that isn't like for anything. It's just there to be there. Like it's always, it's never like a space that you feel that comfortable in. It's like it's this strange, and a lot of them keep going back, and like at least the one that I was in goes back and back and back, and there's like way more space than you'd expect, and like these long open spaces, and it's like, how do you even do this in New York City? Like, and that's I don't know. It reminded me of that apartment that Pedro Pascal has as like a penthouse or whatever.
Yeah, I know one girl on TikTok who she's like, get ready with me while I'm about to meet sugar daddies in New York City. And I'm like, that's what I need to do when I go to New York City. but like for
it's a lesson you learn from that, huh? Okay.
I know. But like for me, like if the guy, I'm sorry, but I would like some type of like financial security. So like I would settle for a rich old dude whose kids are a lot older than me. And I could pull like an Anna Cole Smith, but actually like be like, yo, I actually have good intentions. I'm actually taking care of your father. Okay, I'm used to this.
I mean, that's something that really struck me, that she's getting credit for doing stuff with that's with serious financial issues, but she's not doing that much. It literally could have gotten pushed to, we're in a housing crisis. I mean, people are desperate for someplace to live, and it's not really dealt. I was even kind of thinking with the Chris Evans thing, but it's clearly a rent-controlled dump, and a lot of people would kill for that now, right?
Yeah, you never see where she lives, really.
And we never see, but it sure looks pretty okay from the outside.
It looks fine, yeah.
And she sure is dressing well. And so all the things that would really like if you watch especially early 1930s films when the Depression is really on. There are savage films. I mean, there are women who are just overtly having to negotiate sex for meals and places to stay, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and the actresses playing all the shop girl types.
Absolutely. So there's just a lot of hardcore. Everyone's life is really being affected by just not having money wholesale, and attitudes get really sharp and cynical and funny, and all of that jazz. And she's softly mentioning, well, Lucy's carrying a lot of debt, and I'm like, I should think she would be. She's living pretty high on her 80,000.
Yeah, he says it in there. She's like, I make $80,000 a year. How much do you make? Which I would bump that figure up, and I would not admit to Pedro Pascal's character that I make $80,000.
I'd be like, I make $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, girl, how are you even living in New York City at that?
This is it. I kept going, am I wrong?
80,000 a year is okay for like South Carolina standards because the cost of living is a little bit less. But New York City, what?
Well, I mean, 80,000, you could probably like you could make it upstate too. It's like, but New York City is like, it's you're scraping by at that point, and it's like, I mean, I guess her job isn't that like.
So I kept expecting we're going to see her apartment. It's going to be on edge too. There's going to be, and there was really.
It's probably like a 1-bedroom apartment, maybe like a little studio place, something like that. That probably helps her get by, and the rent's probably like, I don't know, $1,200. I don't know.
But you see it it's like it's fine. It's I mean that's again, there isn't the Chris Evans apartment that he shares is like, it looks like any other person where it's like multiple people and they're all struggling and like, somebody didn't do the dishes, like, the bathroom mirror needs to be clean. Like that's real. That's more real than like how the character was actually dressed, which again, it should be. I was able to excuse it because like, oh, he's a working actor. Right, he's trying to like punch above his weight class, basically, and like show that he, can, you don't want to like look too shabby or anything along those lines. So I was able to excuse it because of that. But that was the one thing about that character that other than like you see his car and it's like not great. And it's like it looks just like any other. It looks like a car. It isn't like his tail lights out or something along those lines where it's like he has the mind to
the
fix
engine
it.
has a permanent whine and
it's
bad inside or something.
Air conditioning doesn't work, as a for instance. Like I feel like it could have gone deeper on those attributes to kind of oversell that. But I feel like Evans' performance is good enough that you don't need to, because it really is sort of like, oh, you see that like they have a connection, but they don't touch on this that much. He gets mad about stupid stuff. Now, granted, all the stuff he gets mad at in the apartment, you have every right to be mad about that. I feel like, but I think that like he very much is the first one. He's quick to anger. Right. And so like when you have a situation where there's a clear class disdain from the part of the Lucy character, and she doesn't want to be working poor. And then she does sort of resent him for that. That was like, okay, that's real. Because I've seen that happen. Like not, not with me, thankfully, but like, with other people I know where it's like, wow, that's a jacked up reason to, get out of a relationship. But also, I guess if that's something that's really important to you and it doesn't look like it's something that's going to change, then I understand,
I was thinking when you guys were just saying the thing about like living on the edge, there was that movie last year that I know you saw, Kristina, too. And I think, Conan, you saw it was The Girl with the Needle. That was the movie about like the sex worker that was like I think it was during World War I or whatever last year.
I think I saw that.
It's on a movie.
It was a Danish movie, and it was, the girl was like was going more. She was like working in a factory, but the factory kind of laid everybody off because World War I ended, and then she started pretty much like she tried to get she got pregnant because she thought she was gonna get married to like the guy who owned the factory, but the mom was like, no, get out of here, bitch, like you're not gonna get married to my son, you're poor as fuck. Then she had to like prostitute herself, and it got worse and worse for her throughout the whole movie. And I remember just watching it like right before the Oscars because it was like up for an Oscar, but like the best international film or whatever. But like it was kind of this crazy like bleak depiction of living on the edge.
And what it's like for women like after like these wars too. So it's like
Can I say that the director's name is Magnus von Horn, which is you would have to like to central casting to like get a more appropriate
that is
name.
The perfect porn name I've ever
Magnus
heard.
Van Horn. Amazing.
Also, like this is
that horn is a boner.
He's like, I'm a Englishman horn, and this is my movie about prostitutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not even anyone from that area. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, there's like, I don't know, that movie was really dark, but it was like, it was pretty much like the grittiest thing I've seen in a long time, and it was like right on the edge, and that's what I was thinking about with like just imagining like what Dakota Johnson's like apartment could have looked like if she's really like working for this thing. I mean, I don't think people live that badly now for the most part. I mean, if they, as long as they have like an apartment, but all I could think of with Chris Evans' apartment, there are so many roaches in there. There's no way that like the roaches
I couldn't. I'd be like, nope. I need bug spray by me. I mean, I even where I'm cat sitting. They get it's a nice gated neighborhood, one of the newer houses in this development that just won't that just keeps going forever. And for some reason, some of these houses still get like roaches, and I'm like, it's a new house. What the hell is going on here?
Well, there's
me out because one crawled on me while I was sleeping. I was like, ah.
Well, South Carolina, it's really like it's really hard not to get roaches. Texas, I don't like every house in Texas has roaches. Like, you can't. Because I went on vacation there, and there was even there was a roach hanging out. I swear to God, and I was staying in a place at like a hotel for like a day because I was staying there, and I was I was fighting with my ex-girlfriend, and I stayed at a hotel for a day when I was in Texas, and I swear to God, there was a roach hanging out in a jacuzzi, and he was like. It was like in my head.
A drink.
Where he walked in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of depictions of that kind of thing. The movie Cold War that came out, I guess 7 years ago or something. I thought that was a really interesting version of that. And if I remember, as in the post-war 50s Poland too. So it's sort of like that was. That's always fraught culturally as well. But I think that there's a long history of that, and especially again for the Lucy character being played by Dakota Johnson, who let's just go ahead and charitably say would have her options would be open to any man or woman that she was looking for.
Well, she's no longer dating Chris Martin from Coldplay, so good for her.
And I think that that's just notable.
Well, and it seems in keeping with, the combination of glossier, swoonier qualities and dark, at least allusions to much darker things. So the sexual assault is the most obvious example of they're trying to do this. She's trying to do this kind of realistic. This really is, a potential consequence of dating people you don't know. Well, it's just a potential consequence. I could just stop. But at the same time, the way it's handled is, I kept thinking it's a little odd. They keep saying it's an assault, and we don't know. We kind of never find out.
You never know what exactly happened till later.
We don't really know. It kind of self-pedals it.
It's the guy too that's like, I'm looking for a 25-year-old, and she's like, and I'm pretty sure that's the guy that she sets her up with. Which so many red flags just in that 30-second interaction where you see him. He's like, oh, what about a 31-year-old? And he's like, 25-year-old.
That guy.
Was that the guy? I look 25.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
But I think, Eileen, I think you're right. I think it's a tonal mismatch, right? And that's one of the reasons why, as a plot point, it's like, oh, well, certainly there's movies that have taken a drastic plot turn and genre switch up, near the end. But it is a tonal mismatch because it isn't really a switch up. It's just it's something that the Lucy character very much enjoys what she does, even if she's very, cold and professional about it, and sort of doesn't find it, has found it non-applicable to her own romantic dealings to the point of basically numbing herself to even the possibility of anything along those lines. But then you think about her interactions with the Pedro Pascal character, and it ultimately comes down to it is a class distinction, and that's when we have Chekhov's leg surgery that's brought up, and it's something where it's like, oh, how could this guy be a unicorn? And it's like, oh, well, it turns out him and his brother had the surgery, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gives him, and again, he's only Bogart in this now. Oh no. terrible. You're only rich and handsome and cool and effervescently, effusively charismatic.
I mean, he does have fucked up legs after that, though. No, I think the thing is, how much are you willing to buy your own bullshit? And I think this movie was incredibly uneven, like in a lot of different points. But I didn't mind the sexual assault part. I'm not saying like, oh, I love the sexual assault that happens.
Someone's gonna clip that and bring it up on X really soon, I'm sure.
No, but I think that it's how much you're willing to buy into your own bullshit or buy into the bullshit around you. And it's like, somebody like Pedro Pascal is like, his life is sad enough, I think, in this, that he's just like, oh, I could just buy myself a woman. Like I can buy myself a future wife and go somewhere with her. But she's bought into it enough. I mean, that's probably who he ends up with. Like he probably ends up with Melania Trump or something.
My cousin's real baby daddy married a male bride.
But I think he's a Mary Sue, though, unless he has a flaw. That's what Eileen was saying earlier. Like, unless he has some interiority to the character, there's no flaws of any kind. That's a boring character. He's just a good dude. He also happens to be very rich, and again, it ticks all these boxes and criteria. And then you never really get a glimpse of him. Like, oh, well, he literally bought into the surgery aspect of things to extend his value.
At least he had a brother to do the surgery with him, I guess. But like, there's a how much are you willing to buy, or how much can you buy into the bullshit before it ruins you, before it makes you miserable? And I think there's a level of almost fairy tale to, even though she knows that what she's doing is like kind of unethical, or like in this liminal space where she's trying to do too many things to people that she's never going to be, because she's literally like, she's a service worker essentially, but she's also supposed to be like a therapist, and she's also supposed, and as soon as the sexual happens, it ruins it for her. But she realizes she's human, like she's very human, and it seems like all of this stuff is not very human. It's algorithmic, and it's cold, and it's you're looking for somebody that checks the boxes, and the people are cold, and the people are on like Klonopin or whatever, like they're rich, and like they're these miserable kind of rich people that are looking for something to keep them from being bored. And like you can get divorced so easily as a rich person in that situation, and people view these things as like in that rarefied class, they view that as like a business transaction almost. And because she's poor, because she's very human, she's unable, she realizes throughout the course of this, and especially when the sexual assault happens, she realizes like she has more feelings than the people around her are capable of having, and she hasn't actually bought into the bullshit as much, like enough to just be like, oh well, we need to lawyer up because this woman got sexually assaulted, and we need to just gaslight her into dropping the lawsuit. Like this is a human being, like I can't do that to, like.
So that aspect, I think, is adjacent to something that makes sense for me, and that would have sold the movie a little more for me. I think if we had seen the Dakota Johnson character and the Chris Evans character having more fun together, I think it would be an easier to buy the ending.
Yeah.
And here's why I say that, because there's everyone's had like relationships that like, oh, that's clearly a bad relationship. Oh, but they seem to enjoy each other's company and they have a great time too. And both of these things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
And people stay in relationships that maybe they shouldn't, because it's like, what's this? Oh, well, we have fun together. Right. Like, and I'm not even talking about abusive relationships. I'm talking about bad relationships.
Yeah.
And I think if we had seen that more on screen, other than it being like more hinted, I mean, the only flashbacks we get are when they're arguing, which is great. But it's like also like, well, there had to be some good times as well, other than presumably sex.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that would have, and not that I'm saying I wanted the movie to be longer, it'd be something that's different than what it is. I think that if you're ostensibly talking about people's interactions with each other, like the enjoyment of each other's company is huge. And I don't really feel like you get a lot of enjoyment out of anyone other than like Pedro Pascal and enjoys being around the Dakota Johnson character.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
That you see. But, look, that's the most relatable thing in the world.
But when it comes to the assault, don't you feel like that it's almost like there was some calculation of, we need something that's got to be big enough to break Dakota Johnson's character, Lizzie, away from this whole thing the whole path she's heading down. So it's got to be big enough. So
and it has to make her, she has to question her decisions of like whether
to the point that she'll go back, you're right, to the John character, even though you're right, we don't even see them particularly having a great time. He's good in a crisis. He's immediately there for her. But
what else is he doing all day?
Well, and you do kind of wonder, is what's solved or resolved between the two of them that can get them to come back together in any way that that's going to work now.
I think you're right. The stakes aren't there.
Yeah, well, it has to be something that in this, right? Like it has to be something that has a human, like a sad kind of fucked up human toll to
It had to be something like that.
Yeah.
So the assault has got to carry a lot of weight, and you got to get over this jarring feeling of wow, we suddenly went into a human abyss that we weren't quite prepared for.
Yeah, and I think it plays to her strengths that the Lucy character is it's a working professional who enjoys what she does and seems very clinical about it, because I think if we had her be like, oh, but if only I could find love, well, congratulations, we're in a Nora Ephron vehicle now.
Yeah.
You know, like this movie would not be.
It feels in tension with those two things, right? Like what Celine Song is trying to say is antithetical to kind of being trying to hit all those points that you have to hit for a rom-com to work. And it feels like the reason this movie feels so unbelievably uneven at times is because it's trying to do both, and it you can't do both. You can't really you can't be both a movie that's trying to make this point about this world, because it's not like you see the other side of the world where it's like love, you know, like which you hear in Celine Song's voice when she talks about it, like just sentences out of her mouth. Like I believe that she's someone that deeply believes in love, like. But it's hard to kind of.
It's almost like it ended up on the cutting room floor for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like I need that or want that. I'm just saying it's almost necessary because of the extreme examples of like what makes her world come crashing down.
Yeah.
Like if you were to get like have all the same things, but have like, oh, she's like questioning like every aspect of her professional life and lives that she has potentially ruined, because that's clearly what she's thinking about. And you have the Jean character come in and kind of make her forget about that. Cool. But that never happens.
Yeah. And it seems like I don't know. She doesn't seem like she enjoys this job as much as it feels like she would have had to sell it to us too. Like it's supposed to be like the one good job she's had, and
they throw a party when someone gets married. Great, looks awesome.
Woohoo! I would like to thank my matchmaker. Hey, girl.
I like.
And there's nothing wrong with seeing a woman just being a professional and being good at the job that she's doing. That's great. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a lovely thing.
From the pole to the streets to cleaning houses, you know, whatever women got to do, you know, they're good at it. Exactly. I'm barely good at what I do. Just saying.
There's just a like such a salesman quality to it, which I think is where you get like the almost like David Mamet aspect of the kind of character that like Dakota Johnson could be to really excel in a movie, right? Like she's very good in this at being like she's a saleswoman.
She's
like,
scientific,
yeah,
about it. She's, you know, she uses her charms in a very specific way. She knows the room. She's operating in an environment she's very comfortable with, but it's not for her in that way. She's looking at it in a completely different way, and that's fine. And like I said, I think that's the parts of the movie that got over the best, frankly.
Yeah,
it's just that it just feels like such a head fake of just like, well, okay, I mean, it's not going to work out because like you're rich and I'm not, and okay, well. Wouldn't it though? I mean, if you're
rich, I'm not, and then she's like, it's not going to work out because you're poor and I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not convinced, and then like there's the whole thing. Well, I feel like it's about the legs. Funny line, you know, probably one of the third laugh from this movie. But like, it's not even about that. It's about, again, going back to the valuation and getting back to the valuation of attributes for potential matchmaking, kind of reinforcing the hypothesis. Fine, but then you haven't explained a real reason why, other than just she just doesn't want to. Why she would leave him.
I remember feeling surprised when she said it's not going to work, and it's just because you don't really love me and I don't really love you. And I just sat there going, I don't.
Who cares? Go to Iceland.
What that would be in this movie. What is love in this movie? What would?
I would have taken the free trip and then talked about that after.
Have to talk after the trip. Yeah, for real, dude. I mean, not to sound like, you know, whatever.
I swear to God, is Pedro Pascal. You're just like, come on. Pedro Pascal would work with everybody.
You don't think you'd have a good time in Iceland with Pedro Pascal?
Oh my God.
Like you've had like this really traumatic thing kind of happened to you. You've had a really hard time. You know, we're gonna keep paying your salary, and then
have a three-way with Bjork.
And then Pedro Pascal is like, I'm going to take you to Iceland and everything's paid for. And she's like, I can't do this. I don't love you. And it's like, talk about this after the trip, dude. Go to Iceland.
This is what makes me so mad. It's like I know women who've gotten like these opportunities to get spoiled rotten. They don't take it. I'm like, but you're going on a trip to like, you know, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Like, what do you do? Wait use him, abuse him, lose him. Okay, that's what you gotta do.
3-point plan.
She probably will, because it seems like Pedro Pascal's character is a little puppy doggish in this, and he probably will. She could just open the door of the car and say, "Run, run," and then drive off.
But until you get to the revelation, if revelation it be, that that he had the leg surgery, he's just kind of a Mary Sue. There's just nothing wrong with him. Like, what? Why would anyone?
He's a perfect character.
It's a classic pairing. It's like Lethal Weapon, you know. These legs and she's
well, because even with the Chris Evans character, A, he's poor, B, like he seems to have some degree of an anger problem, right? Okay, well, those are real reasons not to be with someone.
Like most
and again,
characters.
Where are the real reasons to overlook that? I don't know. Not on the screen.
Well, I can't even remember the thing where they crashed the wedding, because that's where they're supposed to start coming together, right? So what is it that's bringing them together? I can't even.
It's the beautiful High Falls, New York air
very
that
nice.
going on. At the,
it's very
picturesque. Really nice,
dude.
I do remember my mind drifting and being like, when do they put that bar in? I wonder. You know, like how much did that cost? Like I'm thinking about renovations.
I think that's where I started to vague out too. Something right around in there.
I was like looking at that barn and I was like, there's no way that I've seen that barn before. And then my mom's like, that looks like a familiar barn. It turns out I've literally seen that barn a million times driving to middle school, because it was right by where my middle school was in like High Falls, and that's like and where my community college was when I did like 2 years of community college. I was like, I really have seen that barn before. It's not just a barn that looks like all the other barns.
Man, they love filming where you live, Forrest, don't they?
Yeah, apparently.
You can see what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be like, look at the rural naturalness. You know, look at this, must be a real love match. And it reminds me of the we haven't talked yet about the cavewoman romance, which just destroys me, and I just hate it so much. But anyway, it reminds me of something similar. We've got to get a glimpse of what true natural love is. And I guess the barn thing is supposed to be that. I don't even know.
There's like, I feel like sometimes something's unearned, but there's like a whole like story behind it or whatever. So I'm trying to find the article, but there was an article that I was reading where they took wait, hold on, I'm trying to find it on my So Materialists upstate groom on getting married in the movie. They took a bunch of like upstate couples that really were couples that are like, you know, in like long-term relationships, but are also like extras in a lot of other movies. And I guess the guy was an extra, which this seems like a little bit this seems like he kind of had an in, and they don't really talk about it, but he was an extra in Madam Web and in Succession, which are like the two things that the stars of these movies, like a bunch of the stars of these movies were in. So I feel like they wasn't known the guy, but he's like, but they had all these couples that they cast.
You know who was also in Succession?
Dasha, and also the girl that gets assaulted was in Succession too. Yeah, she's the guy that Logan ends up with when he's old and he's looking for like a 30-year-old.
In summary, Succession, we get it. So the thing with I actually looked up the plot just to kind of like try to fill in some of the blanks, and I'd forgotten somehow that she was like offered her promotion. She's like could run the office, and she turns it down. I was actually gonna resign tomorrow.
Oh my god, another thing when people are like, here's a better opportunity for you, you might get paid more, but
does she reject it? It seems like in the end we don't even know.
We don't know.
Well, we don't know, but she says she is going to resign the next day. It's funny you called me because I was going to resign the next day, and it was like interesting. Okay,
but they give her the hard sell. Like the woman's like, please think about it, and she's like, oh, all right, I guess I'll think about it. And then the movie ends, and it's like, did she go back to work or not? Like,
no, it doesn't just end. You get a montage of people getting marriage license.
Yeah.
Marriage licenses, including Lucy and John. So like, oh no, they're getting married. Like, well, I guess she could have the quote unquote best of both worlds and accept this promotion that one can assume would be more money and
right, and they could both live on it. Yeah.
But it's
very The Graduate, 1967.
But it's kind of a rush to the end too because of it. Where it's like, well, we spent all this time with this other stuff. Like, you don't like. I mean, not like I need that spelled out from like a simpleton. I'm just saying that like I had to literally look it up on Wikipedia.
Right.
It like they montage, but they don't like. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of it's kind of rushed. I think some of it is just the rush to check all the boxes. Ironically, I guess like
it's just so funny because you think of like past lives. The last thing that movie feels like is rushed.
Yeah,
it's so patient, and it sits with like the feelings and the parallax view of the different characters, and you know, like the different the Rashomon effect, if you will, you know, of the other things of how these people interact with each other, and it's so naturalistic that it just seems like this movie came first somehow, even though it didn't. And like she like picked that up later, but so I don't know, why did she just not think that was gonna work for this? I don't know. Like,
well, it really does make you wonder, what was the impact she wanted in marrying elements of romantic comedy, I guess, to this more serious stuff. And I kind of come up empty. I'm not quite sure I understand.
But she had a nice little scene in the park, and okay, that's cool, but like,
yeah. Especially the Stone Age couple. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. We're back. Okay. Sucks. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was stupid.
I just hated it.
I tuned out. I didn't have like
a Wes Anderson stuff. Sorry, piece of love, but
I just hated the idea again of just like, now we're going to essentialize. Now we're going to suggest once upon a time, love was true and natural, and there was a lovely daisy ring and pure tenderness, and there was none of this commodification or cruel ways of evaluating. And I'm like,
I'm sure there was rape back then.
Right, exactly.
Believe that in our simpy earlier times, everything.
I think of the classic, caveman hits cave woman over the head with the club, and then drags her into the cave.
I'm no expert on prehistoric love, certainly, but I don't know if anyone is. But it just seemed a little bit schematically.
I'm actually a scholar of it. Yeah.
She's like You've been hunting. You haven't hunted very much, but I've gathered quite a bit. I don't think this relationship is going away.
I know. Who's going to do the hunting? Who's going to do the gathering?
I'm looking for a guy who's really good at hunting, a high value hunter.
So the only reason those, I guess we call them bookenders, right? Only reason that would have worked for me is if somehow like one of the cavemen, it turns out like hunters is a higher class than the gatherer. That's the only way that would have worked for me, where it's like, oh, that's funny, because then it's like, oh, there's parallels to this class distinction that it lays into, and it only would like make sense because like it's laid into so many times, and is like literally the only motivating factor for one of the only like really illogical decisions throughout the whole thing. That's like, okay, and one can say logic doesn't come into play with love, fine, but that's not the thesis of the movie. The thesis of the movie is logic is everything. So right,
and also, logic makes you miserable. Like
I'm talking myself out of liking the movie now. By the way,
I think that there's just so much that's like uneven, and I like about this, right? Like there's stuff that I really liked. Like I don't want to say I liked the sexual assault. That plot line worked for me.
You already said it once.
Yeah, so. I know, but I'm saying like with that plot line, like I felt locked in with that plot line. I was like, holy shit. This is horrifying, and there's really human consequence to this, and like it feels miserable. And watching her have this like crisis where it's like, how do you even reach out to the person and to like confront her? And then she's like, you're my pimp or whatever, and then she realizes she's the only person that she can call because she doesn't have any friends, which like of course that lady doesn't have any friends. Damn, your life is sad. Like, what are you even doing with yourself?
Well, and it's the only thing
you have. Friends, you need to make friends before you meet, your nine dates.
It's the only thing that makes sense for a Dark Night of the Soul for the Lucy character. So, like as a plot point, it works because of that. But like how it's deployed is just, I just feel like it's a, it's a crazy Olympic winning pirouette that just does not stick the landing. Like it doesn't fly because the recovery isn't believable. And
the other thing is, so her like 6 months, like listening to her talking about her like Celine Song, right? Listening to her talk about her 6 months, it's like, oh, why did you stop? And she's like, oh, I don't know, I just kind of got bored with it. So it's like it's a very anticlimactic version of. She's like, I was very good at it for a little bit, and then it kind of I was over it, and I really
especially given how dark it gets. Once the assault happens, remember Lucy suddenly becomes hypercritical of her own. The job that she was doing all fine before, and now you get the really disgustingly immoral, unethical, terrible things people are saying. no black people, no fatties. You know, this kind of thing. Where it starts getting really ugly.
I like the one woman that's like, I want to start with all white people, but if I can't get a white person,
then I start moving down.
Yeah.
I know. And it's just, yeah.
Like,
so
that was rough chuckles, but that was a laugh. You're right.
Yeah.
I was like, so racist and desperate. Like, it's
a great combination.
It's funny too because even though there are so many mixed race kids in my family now, my mom still would not approve of me dating a man of color. I'm like, Mom, it's 2025. Papa's been dead for like over 20 years now. Let it go. She'll let me date like a Mexican or even like someone who's Muslim, and I'm like,
let you like it's kind of a weird.
I know. I'm like, Mom. Yes, exactly. She's like, well, you know, you got to think about what like, Papa's feelings. I'm like, he's been dead for over 20-some years. He's got God knows how many mixed race great grandkids. It doesn't matter anymore.
I do like. I
don't want kids.
A American Horror Story kind of thing or something like you could picture to like Ryan Murphy of like a guy like a racist man stuck in hell just watching there's a long line of like mixed race kids, grandkids or whatever, like he's like like stuck on a loop. That's his hell.
Yeah.
Well, getting away from who Kristina is and is not allowed to date and of which races they may be, I find it interesting that the Chris Evans apartment is based on Celine Song's husband, the Challengers writer. It's his old dilapidated apartment, basically. That's like what she based it on. I think that's kind of cool. It's like, all right, that maybe that's one of the reasons why that's one of the scenes that feels the most naturalistic, right?
Well, one of the things, right, with Celine Song's own like story. There's like she did this as a thing while writing her plays. In the Dakota Johnson case in this, right? Like it's just she's not doing anything besides this. It's like she doesn't seem passionate about anything. She doesn't seem like she wants to do anything. She's like, I haven't figured out anything. I know I want money, and I need to do this. And it's like her, but like you know, like the Chris Evans character is like constantly acting. He wants to be an actor. He's doing that at least, and he's like, you know, he makes money, and then he is Celine Song plays apparently, but I wish they had her as like you said, like I wish they had
like in university Celine Song. That'd be great. That'd be hilarious.
COVID didn't happen in this universe probably, and so she's a successful playwright. She actually did movies.
Maybe.
But it's like, but I feel like that makes it such a difference because it's like I don't know, like this woman's like life seems empty. Like I mean, you don't really find out anything about her really. Like she's kind of calling her ex all the time to be like, oh, I need you to do something for me. And he's like, I'll be right there. I'm not doing anything because I'm unemployed.
Sitting around waiting for the call for like one of these.
Well, then you could have, I mean, if they were going to do comedy, there are examples like Palm Beach Story where the unhappily married couple, because they're always broke, and the guy's an inventor and nothing's working. And she admits, I'm a rotten wife in traditional terms. I can't cook. I can't sew. I really need to be the trophy wife, you know, they didn't have of a rich man. And she's like, look, and then I'll take care of you. I'll go marry somebody we'll get a divorce. I'll marry somebody super rich. And then we'll funnel money to you and you'll be a successful inventor. That's a kind of logic that's screwball and is really hilarious. And of course he's traditional and can't bear the idea. But it could have gone that way if they really had just gone for, there's a real logic to a woman who doesn't want to be an actor. You're right. Doesn't want to be an actor. Was not good at it, doesn't really have any other passions. What she really wants in life is a pampered life, being the beautiful wife of somebody's rich and living in a wonderful place and not worrying about money and swanning.
She got the opportunity. Like,
didn't take it.
I don't. She's like, I don't love you, and I'm not going to Iceland. And it's like, this is what you
this is like literally what you said. You like you and everyone else that one of your clients wants.
Yeah,
like, I would be like, okay.
And after an entire movie of trying to find a single
then you could
flaw
turn
with
around
this
and
character,
say, "And we'll take care of you, John."
Exactly. Which would be the thing that every Letterboxd reviewer wants is for them just to be a throuple somehow.
They
real horny posts.
They almost kind of marketed almost as that too, and we were like,
they took all these pictures themselves. I think of themselves doing like a cuddle puddle where they're like really like that. They seem to all get along very well, and they're like,
it's an old-fashioned movie.
The promos for it were fun.
It's strictly hetero, you know. There's There's no expansion of romantic possibilities for these people. Everyone wants a traditional like.
But that motif would have been. You're right, Eileen. That would have been hilarious. And as much as like that, you know, it would have. You couldn't do like a straight remake of that today. But if you had like that element of this, you know, like she's still like maintaining this weird quasi friendship, quasi something else with like the struggling actor ex-boyfriend. That's a conflict, and that's something where that
would be a real world solution. Share the wealth. I'll marry. We'll take care of you. You'll be in the guest house in the back. It'll all be great.
Exactly. You can have all the affairs you want. I don't care.
There's like because I've known a lot of people that even in happy relationships, right? Like there's that one person they can't get over, but it's like a shameful thing where it's like they secretly go back to the person and then they get caught like cheating on a really happy relationship. They can't stop going back to this person. It's like addiction.
Yeah, my sister has that situation with her high school.
Why are you blowing up your spot on Pine?
Like there's like usually what happens is some people were in a relationship that was kind of like power dynamics were different, maybe some toxicity, and like my sister keeps going back to this guy who is married, and I'm like, stop, get over him. But my sister's too independent. She can never like. My sister and I were both too independent to really do like relationships. So it's like, if we're with a guy, it's usually the guy who doesn't wear the pants in the relationship. They're more likely wearing the skirt.
It's like it just feels like that level of like shame or like toxicity isn't there, and it's like because all of these characters are kind of, you know, perfect in too many ways, right? Like it's like Chris Evans could, I mean, he has an anger issue clearly, and he's not like
he's like the Sims 4.
He like struggles
playing the Sims 4.
He struggles with like his ambition or whatever, and like you know his acting ability or whatever he's struggling with like in this. But there's no like he's a very nice guy, and Pedro Pascal is also a very nice guy, and she's actually secretly, you know, she seems cold, but she's actually a very nice girl. Right. And it's like where like there needs to be some kind of spice to it. I guess
there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing to be overcome necessarily.
Right.
Well,
like,
and that's I feel like how it's marketed. There's like zero escapism in this movie, like at all. Like, and it is staggeringly clinical. It's very confident, consider maybe more than it should be, frankly, about the story that's being told, and it's almost a detriment to it because it. Again, some of these things just come off as ill-fitting, like not just weird decisions, and something that like doesn't really make sense ultimately. And again, there's certain things. The caveman thing you can lose that entirely. I don't even think it's clever. I didn't think it was funny. I think it was cute. I was like, what the fuck?
Unless they tied it back to the whole classism thing.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been interesting. That would be like, oh, even in caveman times, there was a high value Neanderthal. You know, okay, well, cool. I guess I can get behind that. That'd be a very 90s way of doing that. But sure, that's okay, fine. You know, it's something where it's like it's meant to be, you know, kind of whimsical or fun or something. It's like this is the least whimsical or fun movie I've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, even like there's moments of like of whimsy, but they're like shut down. They're like no, like
almost immediately. Yeah,
like you know, I mean, I feel like there's something very whimsical about going to High Falls, New York, but like that whole thing where she's like, let's just get in the car and go, and there's something there, and then, but like within a few minutes, she's like, why am I? I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why? Where are we going? And like,
yeah, because it's that cynical fist of reality.
And the only thing they don't have like the only thing you can think to do is follow the culinary truck that he works on. Like
follow that culinary truck.
He's like, oh, my company. I'm gonna follow my company up wherever they're going.
Like bad company.
He's like, I'm not working as a caterer today. I'll just follow my catering truck.
That's right.
That's the day I'm not at work. Yeah.
I'm not working. I'm just eating at the catering company that I work at sometimes.
Well, and that makes me think about the title Materialists too, and like that being something that like, well, they're stuck to their material conditions. Right?
Yeah, maybe that was meant in that way. You're right. I didn't think of that. Okay.
But it's like it feels like there's stuff she wanted to say, and she says it in this, but then she has to do a movie, and it's like. You know, like there's got to be another format that this could have been in where maybe like it made more sense, like because I'm vibing with what she's saying for a lot of it, right? Like the transactionality of things is something that quite honestly disgusts me in a lot of ways, and like I feel very sad when I think about the fact that we're pushed more and more into incentivizing transactional relationships, and I think it makes people miserable. And I think the constant options, like the idea that there are constant options, like you could always do better, makes people miserable, and it drives people insane. And I think that relationships, like people are always talking about, like, oh, why are there so many divorces? And I think a lot of that is that people are always looking for more options. They're always thinking there's something better, and they're not working on what they have because they're always thinking there's got to be something better out there. And all of that stuff in my head, I'm like, I'm vibing with, like, I'm picking up what you're putting down. But like, then she's like, oh shit, I got to make a movie too.
Yeah, those are great points, but they weren't articulated in this movie. So,
yeah.
At least not.
I guess let us remake the movie.
Well, and it's almost frustrating when something gets close to being the thing that you want it to be, and it's like, oh,
it misses that mark.
And again, it's something that if Past Lives hadn't been such a success of what it did, it's it's hard not to have high expectations. So, and I know there are people that don't like Past Lives. Some of them in Eileen's comment section.
Oh my god! I'll say.
I don't know how.
Here's your trophy, by the way. Congratulations.
I don't know how you couldn't like that movie. It's so good. It's so like I didn't even go into that with high expectations. It's funny, that movie I didn't go into with really any expectations besides like, oh, this should be interesting. I think it's interesting when people tell, like, when people are trying to express what it feels like to be somebody who's immigrated somewhere, and they're trying to express that in this interesting way. But like, I didn't go into it being like, oh, this is gonna be a really cool, like, very like interesting story about split lives, pretty much.
You didn't know anything about it, and so because of that, like, its charm was able to work in a unique way.
Well, I saw the 5-minute like, there's a 5-minute trailer that I saw, I remember, and like it gave a lot away about what the movie was about, which of course trailers do now. But I remember, like, that's all I knew about it was like but like it seemed like they were telling the whole story like in chronological order in the trailer.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's something where I think that it's almost like you have to lean more into the tragedy and drama of this, or you have to lean into the comedy that was promised and not delivered upon in the marketing campain.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. All I'm saying is that it's parts of it seem ill-fitting because the motivations aren't clear. And again, if it had given. Not that there's like exposition dumps, but like, some of the dialogue is Mamet-esque in that sort of just like, all right,
big massive dumps of dialogue.
Say these things. These are the things that the character needs to get out there, right? We don't see enough of. Again, if she's gonna have a dark night of the soul, like we get the shock of it, but like, where is the rationale for going back to her ex come from? Okay, well, they literally went on a road trip.
Literally, the description of this.
Did they have fun? Doesn't seem like it, but okay.
The description on Google, right? Because they always give you like a quick description, like when they're marketing the movie. The description is a different movie, literally. A young New York City matchmaker's lucrative business gets complicated as she finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. None of that is what happens in this movie, and it's not even a lucrative. Even the term lucrative business, she's broke.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very clear it's not lucrative. Yeah, exactly. It's not lucrative as far as financial compensation.
It's not really porn. I don't think by the end of it, she's logically like, I don't even want any of these.
Well, because her justification, the compensation is in fulfillment. It's in the fact that she's doing good for these people's lives, which is why when the thing that's horrible happens, it's so jarring to her, because that's what she's built her entire identity as a vocation on, is that she's, creating good in the world by putting these people together. And it's not like I need someone like on screen explaining that that's why she's depressed. I get that. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I just feel like it doesn't stick the landing with what it's trying to do. And I get the artful montage of, oh, everyone's getting marriage licenses. Oh, people love continues on despite. Okay, fine. But, like, was that trip even fun? I don't know. It's a low bar of fun if that's what you. I mean, like.
Here's what I would know. Here's what I would do in the local sightseeing world.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just saying,
some nice places.
and to be clear, I seem to like this movie the best out of everyone, which isn't saying that much, but like, it's definitely it's an imperfect vessel, to be sure, and I think the idea that the dramatic turn is too dramatic. And I don't have a way to fix that. I don't have a script doctor way to like fix that or anything along those lines. I think
I just feel like it's separate movies. Like the thing that's the movie about her her stuff in the business, and then the movie about that's some kind of romantic comedy but isn't really, but like is trying to hit those beats at least, right? Like the beats of like she's in the world, she's single, her ex comes back to her, a new guy is there, then she realizes her ex maybe was not perfect, but like that's who she's settling for or whatever. Like it tries to hit those beats while also telling you like a very different story that would have been interesting in another way. It would have been interesting as like a documentary, like or something. Like I don't know.
And I even think the Mamet-esqueness of like breaking down the materialistic aspects of matchmaking and whatnot, and that rendering. Look, I mean, David Mamet's a lot of things. Full of Heart, not one of them. And that's kind of the thing with that style. And it would be interesting if she, after coming from a thing that was like so full of heart and so just like dauntingly so, to like go like for a pure clinician standpoint, that'd be like, wow, that's a swing. She's trying to prove that she can do both, but she's kind of trying to have both the best of both worlds with it, and it doesn't really fly.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, these kinds of opinions can be expressed on the social media site Letterboxd, of course, which is a place for film lovers to talk at with and to each other about the films they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, maybe the films where their reviews are literally just frupple. And of course, everybody gets to have their say. Everybody gets to chime and opine. Not just the Siskel's and Eberts of the world. It's a bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to chat in and what they liked or didn't like about the movies. This is all best done succinctly, where the best of these are collected for the week by yours truly, for Forrest and the panel to react to. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Materialists. Let's go. Turning down Pedro Pascal was the most unrealistic part of the movie.
Yeah.
Guys, have you seen his legs?
Exactly.
I have such a hard time. Like I mean, I've told you guys this before, but like I've had a pretty bad car accident when I was like 19, where I never broken a bone before, and then I broke my femur in 2 separate places. And but now I permanently have a metal rod in my femur, which is the part of like the lower part of the leg where they break for the surgery. So like it just like when someone like, it's almost like triggering to me to think about the break that they break your leg 4 times. So they break their leg, pull it, break it, pull it, and you have to do it over like a course of months. It's hard. Like, it's horrifying.
I'm in pain right now for some reason.
And I can't imagine that if you break your legs that many times, you're gonna have permanent leg pain too. And you're like, oh, I'm a little taller, but like my leg hurts.
At what cost?
Every fucking time it rains, like
you know when it rains ahead of time. Yeah,
you're like in agony. Like,
look at this background. Look at this background.
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's just like, come on. What are you doing?
Come on. Come on, Dakota.
What are we doing? What are we doing here?
She's hot. He's hot. What's there to lose? Go to Iceland. Maybe she'd find love for him in Iceland, but she didn't find out because she didn't go. And that
exactly
me off a little bit.
I'm waiting for that sequel.
I want to go to Iceland so bad. I would have gone with him. He's like, all right, well, we're a couple now, and I'd be like, I guess so, Pedro Pascal, because I really want to go to Iceland.
I think everyone's agreed. Get Pedro Pascal back.
I'll be Forrest Pascal as long as I can go to Iceland.
As long as he has to go to Iceland. Girl, fuck off with the imaginary boyfriend math and go get Pedro Pascal back.
I love the almost like and like, not to bring politics I guess into it, but I love like the almost like Andrew Yang of it, where you just say math and it's like you don't even have to like show anything. You're just like, math, the math adds up, or the math doesn't add up, and everyone's like, assumably that sounds correct. So his lie, but he's like, I actually think the math does add up. And she's like, no, it doesn't. He's like, I think it does. It's like, there's no, like, what math are you guys talking about?
Yeah, there's no opinions in math, actually. Yeah, math is one of the few objective.
Is this that new woke math that they're always teaching?
Right.
Yeah. Common Core.
Man, Short King's catching strays left and right in this film.
But it is a real thing. Everybody, like everyone, like, you know, I mean, people talk about like, I mean, I hate the term body count, but then they're always like, oh, well, guys lie about their height all the time. It's like these numbers. I feel like leave the numbers at the door. You know, love don't need no numbers.
Also, specifically, they call people being 5'8", which is my height. I felt personally attacked by that, but I am also all torso. I have really stubby legs, so I don't know.
Legs. But it's also like, that's just normal height. Like,
I'm just a dude. I'm a dude who was actually average height thanks to the Japanese.
So you're turning Japanese? You really think so?
But it's like, I don't know, like it's just they're like 5'8". It's like that's normal height. Normal height. Like everybody's becoming like porn brained almost, where it's like they want above. Everybody has to be above average. It's like that's not how averages work.
That's why they're above average height.
Yeah, by definition, most people are like average or below.
Well, that's everybody thinking that they're the exception to the rule. Well, if everyone's the exception to the rule, there's no rule. So, anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, there's that. It's like that entitled thing that in this movie where it's like, it's these rich people that are like, oh, I think dating for me should be like customer service, essentially. Like, I should have somebody pick people out for me, and then I get to be mad and I get to bitch you out if the date doesn't go well. It's not my fault; it's your fault. Like, I had a great time. I had a great time. He didn't have a great time, and I blame you. Person who's working for $80,000 a year.
Chekhov's leg lengthening surgery.
I hate it.
Oh, God. Yes.
Introduced in the first act and must show up in the third.
Chekhov's legs.
Legs.
Well, we really check off the boxes, you know. Like,
Okay, all right, move on. As Paul McCartney once said, "Money can't buy me love, but it can't buy me surgically lengthened legs."
I'll buy you a pair of legs, my friend, if it makes you feel all right.
Exactly. Who can forget that outtake? Dakota Johnson has an uncanny ability to make every line delivery seem like ADR, even if her face is directly on camera, and it works.
Yes.
There's like a quality to like almost like a supernatural like quality to like her beauty where it's like
it's hypnotic, right?
Yeah. I mean, I watched the 2018 Suspiria, and even there I was like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but she looks good. she's like dancing, and I'm like, look, this movie's all over the place, but I'll watch this part of it.
Yeah. A lady in front of me turned to her husband and said, "Was threesome not on the table?"
The obvious solutions aren't even considered here.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's the second movie where a threesome could have been on the table, and Celine Song doesn't raise the opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe third time's the charm.
That's right.
The next one, she's like,
it's just called threesome, actually. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's the next Luca Guadagnino movie.
Yeah. Well, hey, all right.
And it's Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer again.
I love Celine Song. She's 2 for 2 in making me leave the theater with tears in my eyes while also feeling painfully single.
I feel like it's not, but I feel like it's the guy that was like the interview that I clipped some of. There's this guy that's like, I'm going to New York City, and you made me feel like New York City is something I should experience. Like he's like clearly fanboying, and I feel like that's that guy that wrote that review where he's like, I'm crying because he's kind of like a bigger, like a kind of a pretty bigger guy that was like, you've made me feel love in the theater again or whatever, and it's like, oh man, you seem lonely. But at least you got to interview Celine Song. That's pretty cool.
Marvelous things can happen when you put Chris Evans in a real movie.
Marvel catch me trees.
I do like Chris Evans. I'm always rooting for that guy. I don't know what it is about him. Usually if someone's Ken doll handsome like that, I just am not interested, but something about him is so likable.
I mean, he was great in Knives Out, you know.
Oh, wonderful. He seems so happy every time he's not playing Captain America. His exuberance
he was even happy when he played Johnny Storm in the Deadpool Wolverine movie.
Yeah,
all right. He was great.
Yeah,
no, he's kind of a delightful actor. He really is.
Yeah. Well, when we had the chat where it was like who's the male version of Dakota Johnson? I think it's Channing Tatum. Like that's my pick. Either him or Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Shia LaBeouf, he's had more things happen to him that like have a darker energy to them, where she's just like, I don't know, I'll show up. Sure, I'm bored as fuck, but I'll show up. Like,
the thing about Dakota Johnson seems like she's really cool. It seems like she'd probably be a really cool hang, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. Both the guys you mentioned, peace and love in my heart, I would go across the street to avoid.
True, but
granted, not my type. But I'm just saying. Like,
I would not if I saw Shia LaBeouf coming. I'd duck into the coffee shop or whatever.
Yeah,
but Channing Tatum seems cool. I don't know.
Channing Tatum seems fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'd be like, can you do a Cajun accent for me?
I forgot about that.
But the different thing about Channing Tatum is he's so funny about his good looks. He knows his good looks are ridiculous, and he's able to register that all the time, which is lovable. She just is good looking. She's just ridiculously good looking all the time.
Really, really ridiculously good looking.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, again, but there is something kind of like almost hypnotic about it. Again, I'm going to use that phrase again because I think it's accurate, and it's one of the reasons why, like, sort of like this stiff dialogue delivery actually like works in this movie. It's just like,
her
no,
this is soft voice.
Yeah.
Perfect for her.
Yeah.
She needs to take some classes at the Derek Zoolander Academy for people who are really, really ridiculously good looking.
That's right. Ridiculously good looking.
I am forever kind of rooting for her, though. So I feel like she is good in this movie. So good for Dakota Johnson.
Anything that lets her do more of those interviews where she just says funny shit.
Yep, yeah, exactly. We did this one already, but again, marvelous things can happen. You put Chris Evans in a real movie. It's true. They stretched out this plot more than Harry and Peter's legs.
That's a good one.
Forrest is so traumatized.
Not him up.
They used to do this for torture. That's how they would
they would stretch your legs out.
That's how they torture people. Now people be doing it to themselves because they want to seem 2 inches taller to people on Tinder.
Yeah.
Well,
6 inches. Hey, be fair. 6 inches.
This is progress, I guess, right? Anyway, listen, Letterboxd. Those are the Letterboxd one. See, look at this background. She's hypnotic, right? Like, what's happening? She's like, I feel like we're all playing second fiddle to her, and she's not even like a live personality on the scrn.
I just want to find out what's next. Filipino water torture, but it's like they're like, look, we're gonna jump on your stomach a bunch of times, and they'll make you skinny.
Well, that's like every weight loss thing in 1950. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, do I got good news.
All right, let me finish the bit. All right, so Letterboxd one-liners. Please follow the show at a Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where you can find all the stuff that we cover in this show, as well as attendant short form content and other things along those lines. Dakota Johnson at Always Flacco is our host over there. You can follow him as well for all the stuff that we cover on this show.
Yesterday when I was on with the Vanguard guys, I realized this is I changed it, I guess, but I had Dakota Johnson as my thing where I turned off the camera. So I walked out, I walked to the other room for like 5 minutes, and I realized I said Dakota Johnson. I didn't explain it.
Just like no reason. Very good. I of course am high value man at Conan Neutron, doing the highbrow, the populist fare, like the midbrow. Follow me along for the Criterion Challenge.
High value man sounds like the most pretentious superhero that they've come up with.
High value man.
He's like, I know my worth, and so should you.
I just watched Chan is Missing, which is a movie that I had not seen, done by the great Asian director that did Smoke, which is an underrated 90s movie, and I had never seen it. It was great. It was really, really cool. So follow me along for the Criterion Challenge as I go through undiscovered and under discussed gems like that on the Letterboxd platform at Conan Neutron. Future Mrs. Pedro Pascal, despite constantly getting her chops busted in the intro, is on Letterboxd quite a bit these days at Kristina, and you can follow her on there to see what Kristina is up to. Eileen is far too busy for the Letterboxd platform. But that's okay. We love her. We love her anyway.
Told I need to get on there. I feel bad. I haven't done that.
It's the only one. It's the only social media site I enjoy, but think of that what you will, with a grain of salt. Kristina, before we go to the plugs, tell us the news.
So, a certain Muslim socialist is projected to possibly win the New York City mayoral race, with 84% of the vote in. Like he's taken it looks like he's taken Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, and some of the other like districts without them. Cuomo's only gotten the Bronx and Staten Island.
Okay, so early projections.
As a New Yorker, I am Staten Island. As a New Yorker, I am the Bronx. As a New Yorker.
And even if that guy wasn't awesome, I just need Cuomo to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care about New York City politics.
I need him to lose bad enough that he doesn't try to run in the. I need him to lick his wounds and go back to wherever the fuck Israel. I guess I don't know. I don't know where he was.
He's like 8 points above Cuomo, which is fascinating to me. But yeah,
if he gets humiliated bad enough, I think he won't try to make his mayoral comeback. If he does win, that guy's gonna try to be the president, and that is going to be horrifying.
Of fucking course he is. This is the first stop. Yes, I mean, yeah, ridiculous.
Although
anyway,
I do think that the clip of him saying, "As a New Yorker, I am black, I am gay, I am poor," is the funniest.
I'm a sexual harasser.
So is that Kristina? Is that vote share with the ranked choice voting first round tabulation?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
we might not get all the votes until next Tuesday. Who knows?
If it's close in the end, it's gonna drag out to at least July 1st. But if it just really depends on like how much the math. It depends on the math. Everything's math.
Yeah.
But like
math.
One has to get to 51. I think for the ranked choice voting is kind of weird. It's like they were projecting it out to the 8th. They were projecting it out to the 8th round. They're like, oh, the 8th round, like Zoran pulls it off, and it's like,
yeah.
Well,
you have like, but that's you have like whatever 12 candidates or something along those lines, right? I mean, they've done it open for years. Everyone gets mad at it, but what it does is allow you to actually vote for your first choice.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I think they've done a very bad job of trying to like explain it to people, though.
Well, because people feel like they deserve instantaneous results, and that just isn't how it works. And you can have it fast, or you can have it be good. Which one you want.
Yeah, that's the next Celine Song plot. You can have it be fast, or you can have it be good. They filmed Cuomo casting his vote today, right? Because like these are the polling places, and they're like, "Oh, did you rank anyone else?" And he went, "No," and then he put his ballot. He refused to rank a single other candidate.
All right. Well, I'm about to rank these bits if we don't close it out to plugs and get on to final thoughts here. So,
as the New Yorker, I am plugs. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
And who isn't? I'm doing like 3 episodes this week. So I have most recently, and up for patrons now, patreon.com/Protonic Reversal, David J. of Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. And that was fantastic. I got a really great David Bowie story specifically related to The Hunger, which we talked about on this very show not that long ago for Vampire Month. And that's available for $1 a month, patreon.com/Protonic Reversal. Of course, the show is always free, protonicreversal.com for the archives. It's just $1 a month, gives you advance access. And there's a lot more coming as well. I got Al Johnson of Shorty and US Maple coming up tomorrow. And then Ralph from the band Rye Coalition, the singer for Rye Coalition, with some news, some Rye Coalition news, of which there has not been any of that for a very long time. So all very exciting stuff. That's just this week. If I went into like everything that I have planned, we would be here all night. So I'm not going to do that. You don't need to agree that readily. But Stevie, the Bubblemen do come up in the discussion.
Bubbleman.
The Bubblemen of Love and Rockets, alien rapping alter egos. I'm not even kidding, by the way. And
that sounds so fucking awesome.
They're actually in the No New Tale to Tale video, but you don't know like what they are unless you know more about Love and Rockets than you really need to. But anyway, that's happening. Protonic Reversal, ProtonicReversal.com. Obviously back with a vengeance. And July and August are going to be much the same.
I think I think they projected the result. I mean, it looks like they're projecting that Zoran might have actually won. But
wow, if they're projecting it that early,
I cannot believe it.
I mean, it might be people fucking around online, but it seems like
people are betting.
I didn't even get through my plugs. That's incredible. I'll take it.
That's great news.
That's lovely news. That's awesome. Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Obviously, we just got done touring. We have stuff to announce for the fall coming up in the next few weeks. Huge announcement actually coming up later this week. So I guess it'll be next show before I mention that. Cannot say what it is, but it is cool. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com, Way of the Neutron, as well as all the back catalog, t-shirts, attendant material, all that stuff. Definitely, if you have not engaged with the band and are curious, buying digital and or physical is the way to go. Direct support to the artist. Thank you very much. A bunch of cool stuff on deck for that, but most of it's going to be in the fall. And let's see, that's just about it. I was on the afternoon tune with a friend of the show, Josh, yesterday to talk about Fight Club. And that was
wait. You're not supposed to be talking about Fight Club.
Well, we broke the first and second rule by doing the show about it, right?
Well, I mean, look, they didn't predict podcasts back then,
right? Really great substantive discussion. And I thought it was very interesting, and I thought people seem to get something out of it, so that was really cool. I realized we've never done. Have we done any David Fincher on this show? Fincher's kind of in my opinion, but I love when he's good. I really love it. But there's a bunch of stuff that I
don't think we haven't done any Fincher. We've I think we talked about, like, we've referenced Seven a bunch of times, obviously in the intros too. But like, we haven't covered any.
Anyway, so that was this week, and I guess I'm going to see Devo on Thursday. So I'll give Jerry my best for you. Yeah. Kristina, what do you got?
Well, I hosted my third week of Kristina's Corner over on This Space, youtube.com/ThisSpaceTV. We were talking about, apparently Trump was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, but then it got like rescinded. And I'm like, okay. We also
stop doing that. They just stopped like months into someone's. They did it with Obama, and they didn't learn a lesson. They're like, we'll give him the Nobel Peace Prize, even though because he seems like he's going to do it, and then he didn't.
Yeah, and then we talked about more the like Stephen Colbert and Zoran's that whole situation, that whole segment, and then we discussed all the hate Rachel Zegers getting, but she's employed as fuck right now, so I don't understand why men need to leave her alone. Like, leave my girl alone, okay? She's a success story. Deal with it. And I've been streaming on Twitch, but after this,
I've been streaming.
I'm gonna be going back on This Space to discuss, if he's predicted to win, that's gonna be fun. My pop might get a little drunk. I don't know, it'll be fun. But I'm rather like shocked that this is actually possibly happening.
Yeah, there's a cynical part of me that's like
imagining
the the last scene in The Candidate where he gets like the upset win.
Polly Market is betting 91% that he's gonna win. And I'm like, what?
One of my favorite endings to a movie, by the way.
Yeah, no, that is great to a movie, but it's just It's such a bleak, like like the upset victory, because it is like the same, literally the plot of the candidate. I mean, Zoran believes in a lot, like real, but like the plot of the candidate, where in the beginning it's like you can say anything because he was at 1%. Whatever he gets tonight, right? Like even if he wasn't going to win, he started at 1%, and he got up to through the roof to the moon.
23.6% currently speaking.
Yeah. But it's like, but there was that freedom. There's that freedom in the beginning where it's like you can really say anything. They didn't expect, like there's literally reporting that they were just like, look, this is going to be an important issues-based campaign kind of thing that we want to do. Like no one else is running in this lane. Eric Adams at the time had his charges that he wasn't pardoned by Trump, and at that point, and it's like then it was like, oh, the closer you get to it, it's like the more disciplined you have to be, and it's been insane to like watch that process happen in real time. Like, oh, what could they've done differently? Literally everything if they thought that they were going to actually win, probably. Like,
yeah, that's all I got going on.
So he's got basically an 8-point lead, 8-point-ish lead right now, which is gigantic considering like that. There's like 88% of the votes that I ran. Oh, there's another vote drop. You gained more than right there.
Yes. Wow. It's fabulous.
It's gonna be a lot of centrists trying to commit harakiri tomorrow if this comes through.
Oh yeah, they are already. I can imagine Richard Forrest is hyperventilating right now, and I'm like, yes.
God, all the worst people are having a terrible night.
They're gonna bring back Bin Laden as AI, and he's gonna start making videos.
Oh,
I wonder who's gonna say this is like when like what they marched through polling. Remember Chris Matthews said that when Bernie won Nevada, and I was like, what?
No, he said that if Bernie won, they were gonna put him into Central Park and put a gun against his head. And I was like, I don't think anyone thinks about you, dude. Like,
you do not, right? By the way, this is funny. Mamdani's running ahead in almost every neighborhood in Manhattan except for the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side.
Of course.
Takes
Manhattan.
The other day, it was hot as fuck the other day too. But he walked the entire island of Manhattan. He walked and he like arrived, I think he walked through the whole island pretty much, like in the city. And it's like they were following him with all these cameras, and more people were like joining in this walk. And it felt like there was like in the 60s where they had like like those big like RFK campaign, or like like the Eugene McCarthy campaign, like these big things where literally like touching a politician pretty much, like these crowds would go electric. And it's like John Lindsay did pretty much the same thing when he ran for mayor. Everybody like really liked him at that point. At least he walked the whole island and he was like touching people's hands and stuff. And it's like there's like an electricity there that I don't think it's happened for a long time. Like you can't imagine if Cuomo's walking around touching people, there's somebody trying to get him back into the car.
Well, speaking of ridiculously good looking, he's ridiculously good looking. He's so photogenic, it's insane. So that never hurts in America or anywhere.
I like they tried to like darken his beard to make him look scary.
I saw that,
but he still was like, he just looked hot. He looked like a model, and it was like, this looks like a
yeah. So
okay, am I up next?
Yeah, Eileen, it's your turn.
Okay. Just quickly, my new essay for my Filmsuck podcast site is on Predator Killer of Killers. It's running on Hulu and Disney Plus. If that hasn't been on your radar and you love the Predators and the Preys, both of those film franchises that connect, I recommend.
Co-signed. It was very good. It was very good. It was a good piece.
It's quite good. It's animated. It moves in. It's an anthology. It moves in some interesting directions. So definitely take a look. And what else? I'm going to be talking with my co-host Dolores McElroy on Filmsuck. We're going to have our own Materialists discussion, never ending this discussion of Materialists. It's coming out on July 1st. And then I've actually been asked by a Jacobin editor to write about Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. So that was a great gift to me.
I love that movie.
Fabulous.
Hell yeah.
I would love to. So
yeah.
So I'm going to be doing some happy writing on that coming up. But thank you for the great news that you just announced, because that's really made my night. So I can go, I don't know, crack a celebratory beer. That's going to be fabulous.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. It's great news.
Yeah.
You got final thoughts, Eileen, on Materialists?
Oh my God, I blathered so much about it. Well, I think I liked it the least. But it's still it's well made. It's not like she isn't a strong director, and you could tell that. There are certainly scenes and aspects of it that work well. I just think that so many factors aren't working for me. Even though, like, I love Pedro Pascal, I don't think he can play a private finance guy in a way that makes you go, yeah, you can't really marry that guy. Of course,
Yeah, but the Chris Evans can't play a poor person either, really. Like,
well, yeah, but at any rate, so for me, that it's just wildly disparate elements aren't coming together for me. I think more than most, because of course, I really did like Past Lives. I thought she was doing great work there. So, swing and a miss. But at least it was a swing. She was trying to do something. That's, I think, the best thing about it. You can tell she's trying to do something that's interesting, and it's just kind of not coming off. So that's not a terrible thing to say about any filmmaker.
Yeah, you tried.
Yeah,
even at her work, right? Like it's interesting. It's interesting filmmaking. Even if it's uneven and doesn't really work that well, like there's still like stuff there that you're like, there's gold in the there's gold in the pile or whatever. Kristina, final thoughts.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. I want to move to New York City so badly because I could live this lifestyle with my own Pedro Pascal. I mean, the movie's fine. It kind of felt like two different movies trying to like clash in together almost. And I feel like for the tone, that kind of like, made things a little bit more questionable. Some things could have gotten more tied together, like the caveman, cavewoman thing. I mean, great chemistry between the three, actors, obviously. Like, it's great. Like, very, very great, competent actors who obviously had a lot of fun making this movie. If you're someone who wants to, like, if you want to try another Celine Song movie, like you can watch this. If you want to like start like watching, we still recommend watching Past Lives first.
Yeah,
so
that's a great movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts. Pedro, I'm available.
Your last final thought is Pedro, call me.
He's gonna be like, someone want to go to Iceland and doesn't care about my legs. Conan, let's hear those final thoughts as the person who liked this movie best out of everybody.
Yeah, I know.
That's a shocker.
It is a shocker. I think it's a confident rom-com, and it breaks down that Moneyball style math material concerns very well. I think it's insane this was sold as a romantic comedy because there's almost no laughs in it whatsoever. I like the checklisting stuff, that was good. The aforementioned condom scene, so on and so on. But the fact that I can name them says a lot, right? I think there's zero escapism here, and I think there really isn't anything poignant at all. So if you're looking for some of the effortless humanism and ennui that you found in Past Lives, keep moving. None of that's there. Like I said before, I said in the chat, I said it on the show, I think it's got more in common with Manhattan than it does Past Lives. And I do agree that I think all three leads are well deployed and the acting is good, which is relieving, but it's very cynical. There's a little hopefulness to it. There is some class awareness to the script, but it's got a muddled message, and especially near the end. I did like it. Although I'm maybe talking myself out of it during the course of this show. I think it's worth watching. Just keep those expectations realistic, just like I guess people should do with the online dating.
I was gonna say she should have seized the means of matchmaking production. I don't know.
Right, yeah, exactly. Seize the means of matchmaking.
or maybe redistributed matches to everybody. You can. In her workplace or whatever, you get a match.
We're still talking about Predator. Yes, we're talking about.
Oh yeah,
of killers, Predator. Yes, starring Dakota Johnson as the Predator.
I don't know why I thought this was like a funny thing to do with like. I made a meme where it's just I took the picture of Cuomo like eating something or whatever on like the thing, and then I put like the Predator from like the original thing in front of him, so it looks like he's hanging out with. And I was like, it's two Predators, like. Hanging out.
I get it. Very clever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm talked out of the meme I made. No. Yeah. I want to say next. I think it's next week, right? We're doing Barry Lyndon.
I thought next week was 28 years later. Is it Barry?
Oh, yeah. No. I next week's 28. Yeah, that's why I put a question mark into. I think, but yeah. We're doing 28 years later.
Because we moved, you're right, it originally was next week, but we moved a week later because Criterion's reissuing Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, if we're going to do it, let's just wait another week and
wait
for that.
28 centuries later, 28 streams later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
28 years later. So yeah, keeping with they're doing a lot of new releases this next month. So
I think doing summer blockbusters is a good thing for us too. You know, like it depends on how good they are.
If they're good,
I do like it's it's this and then it's 28 years later, and then we're just doing Barry Lyndon, but then it's Superman. Like it's
oh wow,
right, exactly.
Yeah,
whiplash. Wow.
They should do Pedro Pascal Superman. I could see that. I could see him being like,
well, he's gonna be Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
they gotta have him in everything. They gotta put him in everything. He's in everything already.
Yeah,
he's in literally he's in Gladiator 2. He's in everything. They put him in everything now. They put him in every Star Wars. They put him in. Did you just start photoshopping him into like whatever, like put like whatever you call it, like just putting him into every movie, like old movies?
He's gonna be he's gonna be in Barry Lyndon somehow. Like how did that happen? I don't remember that. That movie's long.
Or they like put him in like The Swimmer or whatever that movie, but he can't do anything because his legs are fucked up. But yeah, this
Pedro Pascal and The Swimmer. Yeah.
This is like the most uneven I think movie I've seen recently. That like so like I mean, but like I don't know, like it's correct. Like at least she tried. Like she tried something. She took a swing. I wish I don't know what the format for this that would have worked is like because I like what she's putting down. Maybe a documentary would have worked better than a. Where she puts these thoughts into, or like a play. I don't know if I guess she doesn't write plays, but if she did write plays, a monologue where she puts
these Celine Song from the movie. Who writes those plays that John acted?
It would be very funny if she had like a multiverse thing going on where it's like her in her own.
Whoa, Ren, how do we feel about Sinners?
Yeah, why didn't you check out the 2-hour episode we did on like 3 weeks ago?
And all to reap the corn and live it. Sorry.
The whole Rocky Road to Dublin part of Sinners is so crazy. They're like, look, we're gonna need you guys. You have to have like 50 people like river dancing. We do that right now. Fight your vampire. Go.
Get down, cornbread.
That was thus far the nicest surprise of the year.
Sinners,
I would say.
I don't like if it wasn't Ryan Coogler though. Like I don't know how they would have pitched that movie. They're vampires. They sing. There's another guy that sings. They want to steal the music from him. They want to steal the music from him because they don't really have the music. They don't really have the music. He has the music. So
he also wants to eat some coos, but there's that too.
he wants to eat some coos. He wants the music. Can they trade off? No, they can't. They're gonna have to face off.
All right.
All right. Well, tune in next week for some premium coos eating with this another guy that was in Materialists. It's in 28 years later. It's early on.
Premium.
That's one of Disney's prerequisites, I guess.
Yeah, and hanging dong too.
Premium coos eating, coos extravaganza.